It is vital that there are homes that are affordable to everyone in rural areas. Land values and house prices remain incredibly high, especially at the moment post-COVID, and the gap between rural property prices and local wages continues to widen. Coupled with higher costs of living and rising energy prices, this leaves many unable to remain where they grew up or have support networks.
Obviously, the housing prices are quite high here because it's such a sought after area, but also because of that, people don't tend to move out of this area very much. So the housing that there is here goes very quickly, or you need to be able to have a lot of money to be able to buy it or rent it.
I mean, if you go back 30 years, you'll have seen over that time that a lot of rural communities have lost their school, the shop, the pub, and have become, very much dormitory type villages. And by introducing a small number of affordable homes in that village, it can have a tremendous effect. People want to stay in their village.
Yeah, we lived in, like Abby said, various from the age of, was it 24 that we moved out. So we lived in a flat. We lived in then 3 or 4 different houses before actually moving to here, and that was all within a sort of 5-year period. Bearing in mind we've been here for a year, so we lived in like 4 or 5 different places in 4 years. Obviously, one of the main challenges with the private renting is obviously you've got deposits, all those costs that happen every time that you move in house, but also the fact that you've got a limited tenancy in the sense that it's a year's tenancy. But on, I think it was our 3rd house that we lived in, there was a 6-month break clause, so they decided to sell after 3 months. So then after 6, we were kicked out, having paid all the deposits, having paid all the fees, to then have to do it all again 6 months down the line.
My involvement with this particular affordable housing scheme in Essex was that the parish council were inspired by another affordable housing scheme in the district, and really took it upon themselves to reach out to RCCE to undertake a housing needs survey to assess the extent of the affordable housing need within their own parish.
Yeah, I started off being chairman of the parish council. We were heavily involved when we got asked to do a survey to see if there was a need in Roxwell. This started in the 2000s, and we eventually got a consultation out by about 2012, which was looked at by a Rural Community Council of Essex, which said, yes, we've got a need here for a small scheme here in Roxwell.
As a rural housing enabler, I provided impartial support. I attended parish council and community meetings. I helped with the site finding. We had to renew the housing need as it came close to planning, so I was liaising with the local authority, essentially hand-holding every step of the way. Once it had been decided to move forward with a scheme, we supported the parish council in choosing a rural housing specialist partner, which was English Rural Housing Association.
Right, our schemes we build are for people who cannot afford to buy or rent on the open market. So we're delivering affordable rent and social rent homes. Affordable rent, the government's definition is that it's up to 80% of open market. Now, in rural areas, even 80% of open market can be unaffordable. So at English Rural, we very much try and benchmark our rents lower than that and set them at or below the local housing allowance, which is what the local authority sets as an affordable rent, so that if people are on lower incomes and need to perhaps have housing benefit, they will be eligible for that at our rent level.
So why do you think the delivery of new housing is important for rural communities?
Because it's given a few families, well, all the families on this particular development have all got local connections. They were either living in the village, or they've got family living in the village and they've moved out when they've got married, or they've wanted to come back. And I think everybody who's any development has met the criteria brilliantly.
So how did you first hear about the Glebe Meadows scheme and what attracted you to it?
So it was just like word of mouth through the village, really. I guess that's part of village life. Word gets around quite quickly. But yeah, my dad just mentioned, one of the neighbours had mentioned it to him. It was quite a long time in the planning, because obviously they have to like put it to the parish, and then people get the opportunity to vote for or against it. And originally it was not always going to be like affordable rent. It might have been shared ownership or a lower cost like housing to buy. But yeah, my dad was the one that told me about it, and got the forms, and we filled it in straight away, and just for anything that was available, really, because we were really keen to have any kind of living here in Roxwell.
What do you really like about this scheme?
What I really like about it is that people would drive in and wouldn't know this was an affordable housing scheme. You know, it's a fantastic design, and to actually ensure that we could afford to build a development, we included 2 discounted market sale properties, and they are homes that were sold at 70% of open market, which is locked in perpetuity. And what was so great, they've both been sold to local people. One was a young couple starting out, and the other was an older couple looking to retire. And what we've got here now is a real community. I mean, there are communal areas that need landscaping work, which we would normally support through service charges, but they've decided to do it themselves, to save themselves money, and also because they want to take ownership of the development, which is just what we want as well.
So what do you think of your new home?
Amazing.
Yeah, we love it.
In the short word, we're very blessed that we're looking out onto a field. They recently had some sheep put into the field, which was great for the kids.
Yeah, it's so nice to be back in Roxwell, because ultimately it is home, for me anyway, but it's also just a really nice place to live.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the community side of it as well, because everyone is in the same position that we're in. Majority, there's 7 properties in our development. 2 were bought part ownership, and 5 of them are rented. So the 5 of them are rented, everyone's sort of in the same sort of situation as us. 2 of the flats, and then 3 of them are houses. But it's become a little bit of a community. And next door we've got a young mum with her little son as well, who's only like 6 months difference from Max. So we've sort of built up a bit of a connection there, which we've never really had. The other properties that we lived at, we never had that sort of community sense there.
What did you learn from your experience of being involved in this?
You've got to be very patient. Things don't happen overnight, which is normal practice with parish council, anything to do with parish council. But if you're patient, good things come in the end.
And what would be your message to other communities that are thinking about pursuing a housing project like this?
I would say do it, and do it now. Having a rural local needs housing scheme is one of the best things that a parish council can do. It's a lasting legacy there for future generations. So it's really important, and it's not hard. You'll get lots of help and support, and the first port of call would be the Rural Housing Enabler.
I would really encourage any community looking to assess their affordable housing need to get in touch. We can help. It does make a difference to your community. It's not always obvious that there is an affordable housing need, so a housing needs survey really can help with the next step of providing the affordable housing that your community needs.